The stars outside the window looked like scattered diamonds on black cloth. Ryan Cole stood in the briefing room of the Starlight Meridian, a human ship, floating at the edge of known space. He was 34 years old, a combat medic who had seen too many battles and saved too many lives. His brown hair was messy and his uniform was slightly wrinkled. He never cared much for looking perfect. The door slid open behind him. Ryan turned to see a woman walk in. She had sharp eyes that seemed to cut through everything they looked at. Her black hair was pulled back tight and her face showed no emotion at all. She moved like someone who knew exactly how dangerous she was. "You must be Lily Vance," Ryan said with a small smile. "I've heard stories about you. I hope they were all bad," she replied. Her voice was flat like ice on a frozen lake. Ryan laughed. "Actually, they said you were the best intelligence officer in the fleet, cold as space itself but brilliant." Lily did not react to this. She simply sat down at the metal table and waited. There, Commander Admiral Stone appeared on the screen in front of them. He was an old man with white hair and tired eyes. He had been fighting for humanity's place in the galaxy for 40 years. "Thank you both for coming," he said. "What I am about to tell you is classified at the highest level. The Galactic Coalition is planning to remove humanity from all galactic affairs permanently." Ryan felt his chest tighten. The Galactic Coalition was an alliance of 12 alien species. They controlled most of the galaxy. Humans had only been part of it for 50 years, and many aliens still saw them as children playing with toys. They did not understand how. Lily asked. Her voice was calm, but Ryan noticed her hands had become fists under the table. "The Velari Dominion," the Admiral continued. "They are one of the most powerful factions in the Coalition. They believe humans are too emotional, too unstable to be trusted. They are planning to frame humanity for a terrorist attack at the Unity Festival next month. Once they do, the Coalition will have the excuse they need to expel us forever." Ryan shook his head slowly. "So what do you need us to do?" "We need evidence of their plan, real solid proof that we can show the entire galaxy, and we need you two to get it." The Admiral paused. "You will travel to Varanthos Prime, the capital world of the Coalition. You will attend the Unity Festival and find this evidence, but you cannot go as soldiers or spies. You need a cover." "What kind of cover?" Lily asked. The Admiral almost smiled. "A married couple, human newlyweds on their honeymoon. It is the perfect excuse to be everywhere, ask questions, and seem harmless." The room went quiet. Ryan looked at Lily. Lily looked at the wall. "You want us to pretend to be married?" Ryan said slowly. "Yes, for 3 weeks. Can you do it?" Lily nodded once. "I can do anything the mission requires." Ryan grinned. "Well, looks like you would make a lovely wife." He expected her to laugh or at least react somehow, but Lily simply turned her head and looked at him with those cold, empty eyes. She stared at him for a long moment, her face completely blank. Then she stood up and walked out of the room without saying a word. Ryan watched her go. He let out a long breath. "This is going to be interesting," he muttered to himself. Over the next few days they prepared for the mission. Ryan learned everything he could about Varanthos Prime. It was a world of crystal towers and floating gardens. Billions of aliens lived there from dozens of different species. Humans were rare and often looked down upon. Lily barely spoke to him during their preparation. She gave short answers and never smiled. Ryan tried to make jokes, but they all died in the cold air between them. On the night before they left, Ryan found her alone in the observation deck. She was staring out at the stars, her reflection ghost-like in the glass. "Can I ask you something?" Ryan said, standing beside her. "You just did. Why did you take this mission? You could have said no." Lily was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than before. "Because someone has to. Humanity deserves a chance, even if most of them will never know what we did for them." Ryan nodded. "That is a good answer. What about you?" she asked. "Why are you here?" Ryan thought about it. He remembered the colony he had failed to save 3 years ago, the faces of the people who died while he could do nothing, the guilt that still kept him awake at night. "Because I have seen what happens when nobody stands up," he said quietly. "I do not want to see it again." For the first time, Lily looked at him with something other than coldness. It was only a flash, gone in a second. But Ryan saw it. There was a person behind those walls of ice, someone who had been hurt just like him. The next morning, they boarded a small transport ship. Their fake identities were ready. Ryan Cole and Lily Cole, husband and wife, citizens of Earth, happy newlyweds, on the trip of a lifetime. As the ship lifted off and the stars stretched into lines around them, Ryan looked at Lily. Sitting across from him, she was reading mission files, her face hard and focused. "You know," he said, "if we are going to make this work, you might have to actually look at me sometimes." Lily did not look up. "I am aware of the requirements and maybe smile once in a while. I will smile when there is something worth smiling about." Ryan leaned back in his seat and closed his eyes. "Fair enough, but I am warning you. Now I am very charming. You might actually start to like me." "I doubt that very much." But even as she said it, Ryan thought he saw the corner of her mouth twitch just a little, just for a moment. The ship flew on through the darkness, carrying 2 strangers, pretending to be in love toward a world that wanted to destroy everything they stood for. They had 3 weeks to save humanity. Neither of them knew that the mission would change their lives forever, and neither of them knew that sometimes the best things in life start with a lie that slowly becomes the truth. Varanthos Prime was more beautiful than any picture could show. Crystal towers rose into a purple sky, their surfaces catching the light of 3 distant suns. Gardens floated in the air, held up by technology that humans still did not fully understand. Millions of aliens walked the streets below, their bodies of every shape and color imaginable. Ryan and Lily stepped off their transport ship into this strange new world. They were dressed in fine clothes, looking every bit like wealthy tourists. Ryan carried their bags. Lily held his arm. To anyone watching, they were just another happy couple. "Remember," Lily whispered as they walked through the crowded spaceport, "we are being watched from the moment we land. Every camera, every guard, every passing stranger could be reporting to someone." "Then I guess we better give them a good show," Ryan replied. He smiled and kissed her cheek softly. Lily stiffened for just a second, then she forced herself to relax and lean into him. "Warn me next time," she muttered through her teeth. "Where is the fun in that?" Their hotel was in the heart of the city, a tall building made of white stone and blue glass. Their room was large and beautiful, with A balcony that looked out over the endless city below. There was only one bed. I will sleep on the couch, Ryan said before Lily could speak. Good. They spent the first 2 days learning the city. They visited markets and museums. They ate at restaurants where the food moved on their plates. They smiled and laughed and held hands wherever they went. Ryan played his part perfectly. He was warm, funny, and always touching her gently, a hand on her back, fingers brushing her hair, small kisses on her forehead. Lily found it harder than she expected, not because she could not act. She had spent years pretending to be people she was not. The hard part was that Ryan did not feel like he was acting at all. On their third night, they attended a grand party at the Coalition Senate building. It was a gathering of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Alien diplomats from every species filled the enormous hall, their voices mixing into a strange music of different languages. Ryan and Lily moved through the crowd carefully. They smiled at everyone who looked their way. They answered questions about Earth and human customs. Most of the aliens seemed curious but distant. A few were openly hostile. One such alien approached them near the drink table. He was tall and thin with gray skin and 4 black eyes. His name was Ambassador Vel, and he was a high-ranking member of the Velari Dominion. Ah, the human couple, he said, his voice smooth like oil. How fascinating. Tell me, is it true that your kind forms permanent emotional bonds, that you stay with one partner for your entire short lives? Some of us do, Ryan replied calmly. We call it love. The ambassador made a sound that might have been laughter. Love, yes, we have studied this phenomenon, a chemical reaction in your primitive brains, a biological malfunction that clouds your judgment and makes you weak. Several nearby aliens turned to watch. Some of them were smiling in cruel amusement. Ryan felt Lily tense beside him. He gently squeezed her hand. Maybe you are right, Ryan said, his voice easy and relaxed. Maybe love is just a malfunction. But you know what? Malfunctions make the best stories. They create art and music and poetry. They make people fight for each other, die for each other, build civilizations for each other. He paused and smiled. What has cold logic built that can match that? The ambassador's 4 eyes narrowed. He did not have a response. After a long, uncomfortable silence, he simply walked away. Lily looked at Ryan with something new in her eyes. That was impressive. I have my moments. Later that night they slipped away from the party and found a quiet balcony. The city sparkled below them like a sea of stars. Lily leaned against the railing, her mask finally dropping now that they were alone. You are very good at this, she said, the touching, the smiling, the pretending. It all seems so natural to you. Ryan stood beside her, looking out at the view. Who said I was pretending? Lily turned to face him. What do you mean? He shrugged. I mean, yes, we are on a mission. Yes, we have a job to do, but that does not mean everything has to be fake. When I hold your hand, I am holding your hand. When I smile at you, I am smiling at you. It is just easier if some of it is real. Lily did not know what to say. She had spent so many years building walls around herself that she had forgotten what it felt like when someone tried to climb over them. You are strange, she finally said. Thank you. They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Then Lily spoke again, her voice quieter than Before, I received a message from our contact in the resistance. There is a meeting tomorrow night in the lower districts, people who oppose the Dominion, they might have the evidence. We need, I hope. Ryan nodded, then we go. Tomorrow it will be dangerous if we are caught down there. No one will come to save us, I know. Ryan turned to look at her, but we did not come here to be safe. We came here to give humanity future. For a long moment Lily just looked at him, this strange, warm, impossible man who refused to be cold no matter how cold the universe became. She did not understand him, but for the first time in years she wanted to get some sleep, she said, turning to go back inside. We have a long day ahead. Ryan watched her walk away. He smiled to himself and whispered to the empty air, "She is starting to like me." He did not know that Lily had paused just inside the door. She heard every word, and despite everything she had trained herself to believe, she could not disagree. The lower districts of Varanthos' prime were nothing like the shining towers above. Down here the streets were dark and narrow. The walls were stained with age and neglect. The beings who lived here were the forgotten ones, the poor, the outcast, the ones who did not fit into the coalition's perfect image. Ryan and Lily moved through the shadows, dressed in plain clothes that helped them blend in. They had left their fancy tourist outfits behind. Tonight, they were not honeymooners. They were spies. Their contact had given them directions to a hidden meeting place. It took them an hour to find it, walking through twisting alleys and down broken stairs. Finally, they reached a heavy metal door set into a crumbling wall. Lily knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. The door opened. Slowly, a pair of golden eyes stared out at them from the darkness. "You are the humans?" a rough voice said. It was not a question. "We are," Ryan replied. "We were told we could find friends here." The door opened wider, and they stepped inside. The room was large and filled with aliens of many different species. Some had scales, others had fur, some had too many eyes, others had none at all, but they all had one thing in common. They were all watching Ryan and Lily with a mixture of hope and fear. An old alien sat at the center of the room. His skin was wrinkled and pale, and his movements were slow with age, but his eyes were sharp and clear. He gestured for Ryan and Lily to come closer. "I am Elder Tavax," he said, his voice like dried leaves in the wind. "I have led this resistance for many years. We fight against those who would crush the small and the different, and now it seems we fight for humanity as well." "Why?" Lily asked. "Humanity is not your species. Why would you risk everything for us?" The old alien smiled, showing teeth that were worn but still strong. "Because your kind reminds us of what we used to be before we became old and careful and afraid." He leaned forward slightly. "Your species lived only a century. That is nothing compared to most of us here. Some of us live for 1,000 years or more, and yet you love like you have forever. You fight like every moment matters. That terrifies the powerful ones. They cannot understand beings who burned so bright in such a short time." Ryan felt something warm spread through his chest. It was nice to hear that not everyone in the galaxy saw humans as weak. "We need evidence," Lily said, getting back to business. "Proof that the Dominion is planning to frame humanity at the Unity Festival. Do you have it?" Elder Torvak nodded slowly. We have pieces, communications, meeting. Records, but the final proof is locked. Away in a Dominion facility on the other side of the city. You will need to get it yourselves. He handed Lily a small data chip. This contains everything we know. Use it wisely. As they prepared to leave, the old alien called out one more time, be careful. Humans, the Dominion has eyes everywhere, and they do not forgive those who stand against them. Ryan and Lily made their way back through the dark streets. They did not speak for a long time. The weight of what they had to do pressed down on them both. Finally, Lily broke the silence. He was right. You know about humans burning bright. You think so? I know so. She paused, choosing her words carefully. I had a team once 5 years ago. We were sent on a mission that was supposed to be simple, but everything went wrong. We were trapped, surrounded by enemies with no way out. Ryan stayed quiet, letting her speak. They all died, Lily continued, her voice barely above a whisper. Every single one of them. I was the only survivor. I watched them fall one by one, and I could not save them. I'm sorry, Ryan said softly. After that, I closed myself off. I decided that feeling things only led to pain. It was easier to be cold, easier to be empty. She looked at him in the dim light. But you make it very hard to stay that way. Ryan stopped walking. He turned to face her fully. I know what loss feels like. 3 years ago, I was stationed on a colony called New Haven. We were attacked by raiders. I was a medic. I was supposed to save people, but there were too many wounded, too few supplies, too little time. His voice grew heavy. I held people as they died. I watched families torn apart, and when it was over, I had to live with the fact that I could not save them all. How do you do it? Lily asked. How do you still smile, still laugh, still care? Ryan thought about it for a moment. Because the alternative is worse. I decided I would rather feel too much than nothing at all. The pain means I am still alive, still human. I know thing. I may be maybe a still human. Completer on rounder, the descended. They stood there in the darkness, two broken people sharing their scars, and somehow, in that moment, they both felt a little less broken. Suddenly lights flooded the alley. Heavy footsteps echoed from both ends of the street. They were surrounded. Dominion agents, Lily hissed, reaching for her hidden weapon. There were at least a dozen of them, all heavily armed. They had been followed. Run, Ryan said. I will hold them off. No, Lily grabbed his arm. We go together. Or not at all. The agents attacked. Ryan and Lily fought back to back, moving like they had trained together for years. Ryan was strong and fast, using his medical knowledge to strike at weak points. Lily was precise and deadly, every movement calculated for maximum effect, but there were too many enemies. A blast caught Lily in the side. She cried out and fell. Ryan did not hesitate. He picked her up in his arms and ran. He ran through alleys and over walls. He ran until his legs burned and his lungs screamed for air. He ran for 2 miles through enemy territory, carrying her the whole way, refusing to stop, refusing to leave her behind. When they finally reached safety, Lily opened her eyes weakly. Her face was pale, but she was alive. You did not have to do that, she whispered. Ryan looked down at her, his chest heaving, his body exhausted, but he smiled anyway. That is the point, he said. That is exactly the point. And in that moment, Lily understood something she had forgotten. Long ago, some people were worth burning. For 3 days past, Lily healed slowly. In their hotel room while Ryan took care of her, he cleaned her wound, changed her bandages, and made sure she ate and rested. He barely slept himself, always watching over her, always ready in case the Dominion found them again. On the second day, Lily woke up to find Ryan asleep in a chair beside her bed. His head was tilted back at an uncomfortable angle, and dark circles had formed under his eyes. He looked exhausted, but even in sleep, his hand rested near hers, ready to grab it if she needed him. Something shifted inside her chest, feeling she had not allowed herself to have in years. By the third day, she was strong enough to walk. They sat together on the balcony, watching the city prepare for the Unity Festival. In 2 days, the celebration would begin, and if they did not act, humanity would be destroyed. We need to get that evidence from the Dominion facility, Lily said. Without it, we have nothing. Can you move well enough for a mission like that? I will have to be. Ryan looked at her with concern. I could go alone. You could stay here and rest. No, Lily's voice was firm. We started this together. We finish it together. No, that night they broke into the Dominion facility. It was a gray building in the wealthy district, guarded by soldiers and protected by advanced security systems. But Lily was the best spy in the human fleet, and she had not earned that title by being careful. They moved through the shadows like ghosts, Lily disabled alarms while Ryan watched her back. They climbed through ventilation shafts and crawled through maintenance tunnels. Every step brought them closer to the evidence that could save humanity. Finally, they reached the central data room. Lily connected her device to the main computer and began downloading files. Names, dates, plans, everything the Dominion had done to frame humanity was right there in front of them. Got it, Lily whispered. We have everything we need. But before they could move, the lights came on. Alarms screamed through the building. The door burst open and Dominion soldiers poured in, weapons raised. At the front of the group stood Ambassador Vell, his 4 black eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Did you really think we would not find you? He said, his voice dripping with contempt. Humans are so predictable, so driven by emotion that you cannot see the traps around you. Ryan and Lily were surrounded. There was no escape. Kill them, the ambassador ordered. Make it look like they died trying to commit the attack they were supposedly planning. 2 dead terrorists. How convenient. The soldiers raised their weapons. Ryan stepped in front of Lily. Run, he said quietly. There is a vent behind you. You can make it. I'm not leaving you. You have the evidence. You are the only one who can get it out. Humanity needs you alive. Lily grabbed his arm and pulled him back beside her. I said, no, I am not losing someone again. Not you. Never. You never. You. Ryan looked at her. In her eyes, he saw something he had been waiting to see since the day they met. The walls were finally down. The ice was finally melted. She cared about him. Maybe even loved him. Okay, he said softly. Then we fight together. They moved at the same moment. Ryan threw himself at the nearest soldiers while Lily attacked from the other side. They were outnumbered 10-1, but they did not care. They fought with everything they had. Ryan was brutal and efficient. He used every trick he had learned in years of combat. He broke bones and disabled weapons. He took hits that should have put him down. but kept getting back up. Lily was like a blade cutting through enemies with cold precision. Every shot she fired found its target. Every move she made was perfect. The aliens could not believe what they were seeing. Two humans, two members of the weakest species in the galaxy, and they were winning, but numbers eventually mattered. A soldier caught Ryan from behind, slamming him into a wall. Another blast hit him in the shoulder. He fell to his knees, blood streaming down his arm. Lily screamed his name. She fought her way to him, taking down 3 more soldiers before dropping beside him. Ryan, stay with me. Ambassador Vel laughed from across the room. Look at this. The humans beaten and broken. This is what emotion gets you. This is what love brings. Pain and death and failure. But Ryan was not listening to him. He was looking at Lily, his vision blurring, his body failing, but he still found the strength to smile. You know, he whispered, his voice weak, you really would make a lovely wife. Lily felt tears burning in her eyes, tears she had not allowed herself to cry in 5 years. She held his face in her hands, her whole body shaking. I agree, she whispered back. I agree, Ryan, I agree. He heard her. Through all the pain and darkness, he heard every word. His eyes opened wider, finding hers. Neither of them looked away. Hold that thought, he said. We are not done yet. With strength he should not have had. Ryan pushed himself back. Up, Lily rose beside him. They stood together, wounded and exhausted, but still standing, still fighting. The remaining soldiers hesitated. They had expected easy kills. Not this, not humans who refused to die. Enough, Lily said. She raised her hand, revealing a small device. I have sent the evidence to every news network in the galaxy. In 30 seconds, the entire coalition will know what the Dominion has done. It is over. Ambassador Vel's face twisted with rage. You are bluffing. I never bluff. Exactly 30 seconds later, every screen in the building flickered. The evidence played for all to see. Communications between Dominion leaders. Plans to frame humanity. Everything exposed. The soldiers lowered their weapons. They knew it was finished. Ryan and Lily walked out of that building together, leaning on each other for support. Behind them, Ambassador Vel screamed orders that no one followed anymore. Outside, the night was quiet. The stars shone bright above them, and for the first time in a very long time, Lily smiled. We did it, she said. Ryan looked at her, his whole body aching, but his heart somehow lighter than it had ever been. Yes, we did. They had saved humanity. But more than that, they had saved each other. Unity Festival was supposed to be the end of humanity's dream. Instead, it became its beginning. When the evidence was released, the entire galaxy watched in shock. Every screen, every network, every planet saw the truth. The Velari Dominion had planned to frame innocent humans for a terrorist attack. They had lied, cheated, and schemed to destroy an entire species simply because they feared what humans represented. The reaction was immediate. Alien citizens who had never thought much about humans before suddenly saw them differently. News programs showed Ryan and Lily's fight against the Dominion soldiers. 2 humans outnumbered and outgunned, refusing to give up. The footage spread across the galaxy like fire. For the first time in 50 years, humans were not seen as the weak newcomers. They were seen as survivors, fighters, beings who loved so deeply that they would die for Each other, the Coalition Senate called an emergency session on the final day of the Unity Festival. Leaders from all 12 species gathered in the Great Hall, their faces serious and their voices loud with debate. The Dominion representatives were absent. They had been arrested the night before. Ryan and Lily sat in the front row of the gallery, watching history unfold below them. Ryan's shoulder was wrapped in bandages, and Lily still moved slowly from her injury, but they were alive. They were together, and that was all that mattered. Elder Torvik, the old resistance leader, had been invited to speak. He walked slowly to the center of the chamber, his ancient body fragile, but his spirit unbroken. I have lived for 800 years, he began, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species destroy themselves with their own hatred, and I have always believed that the key to survival was logic. Cold, careful, calculated logic. He paused, letting his words sink in. I was wrong. A murmur passed through the crowd. Elder Torvik continued. We built our civilizations on law and order. We removed emotion from our decisions because we thought it made us weak. But look at what we became: cold, empty, afraid of anything different from ourselves. We tried to destroy humanity because they reminded us of everything we had lost. He turned to look at Ryan and Lily in the gallery. These two humans came to our world as strangers. They faced enemies who outnumbered them 100 to 1. They were beaten, shot, and hunted through our streets, and yet they never stopped fighting, not for glory, not for power, but for each other, for love. His voice grew stronger. Humans live for a century. To us, that is nothing, a blink of an eye. But in that blink, they love more deeply than most of us will in 1,000 years. They create art that makes us weep. They sing songs that make us remember what joy felt like. They fight for causes they will never see finished, simply because it is the right thing to do. He turned back to face the Senate. We have spent centuries looking down on humanity. We called them primitive, emotional, weak, but I say we were the weak ones. We were so afraid of feeling that we forgot how to live. Humans never forgot. They burn with life every single day, and perhaps it is time we learned from them. The hall was silent. Then, slowly, one senator began to clap, then another, then another. Soon the entire chamber was filled with applause. The vote was held that afternoon. Humanity was officially recognized as a full member of the Galactic Coalition, not because they had proven they could be cold and logical like the others, but because they had proven they could be something better. That evening, Ryan and Lily were called to a private ceremony. Admiral Stone was there along with several high-ranking human officials. They were given medals for their service. Their names would be written in history books. They were heroes. But when the ceremony ended and the officials left, Ryan and Lily slipped away quietly. They did not need crowds or medals. They only needed each other. They returned to Earth a week later. The whole planet celebrated their arrival. Millions of people lined the streets, waving flags and cheering. News programs called them the saviors of humanity. Politicians gave speeches about their bravery, but Ryan and Lily avoided the attention as much as they could. They answered the questions they had to answer, attended the events they could not escape, and then disappeared. The first chance they got, they found a quiet house on the coast of California. far from the cities and the crowds. It had a small garden and a balcony that overlooked the Pacific Ocean. It was simple, it was peaceful, it was exactly what they needed on their first night. There they sat on that balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. The sound of waves filled the air. The world was finally at peace. Ryan took Lily's hand. In his, she no longer flinched at his touch. She no longer pulled away. She held on tight like she would never let go. So he said, a familiar grin spreading across his face, about that wife thing. Lily turned to look at him. Her eyes, once so cold and empty, were now warm and full of light. The walls she had built around herself were gone forever. I already said I agree, she replied. I know. His grin grew wider. I just wanted to hear it again, she laughed. It was a real laugh, free and beautiful, the kind she had not allowed herself in years. Fine, she said. I agree. I agree to be your wife. I agree to love you for whatever time we have. I agree to burn bright with you, even if that light only lasts a moment. Ryan pulled her close and kissed her as the sun sank into the sea. Above them the first stars began to appear, the same stars that humanity had once looked up at and dreamed of reaching, the same stars that had almost been taken from them. But humanity was still here, still dreaming, still fighting, still loving. The galaxy had dismissed them as too soft, too short-lived, too human, but the universe would learn the truth. There was no force more unstoppable than a human heart that refused to stop beating, for love, for hope, for each other. Ryan and Lily stayed on that balcony until the stars filled the entire sky. Two humans who had found each other in the darkness, two hearts that had healed by breaking together. The future was uncertain. There would be new challenges, new enemies, new fights to face, but they would face them together, always together, because that was what humans did. They loved, they fought, they lived every moment like it was their last. And in a galaxy that had forgotten how to feel, that was the most powerful thing of